Hey guys, Nova Busher here and welcome back to the channel. And today I am here with Real Life Fungus. Real Large Fungus?
Yeah, that's the one.
We were saying it so many times before we start recording. I forgot I forgot which order it comes in.
It's quite fine. Don't worry. Again, you can call me by anything. I'll respond as long as it has fungus in it.
Alright, cool, nice. Well, yeah, nice to meet you, Fungus. I've seen you in the
Yeah,
comments quite a lot, and it's you always have good input, so it's quite nice to have you on.
thank you. That means a lot. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be on today. Yeah, I'm glad we can make this work because I was really wanting to come onto this Nova chat
Yeah, that's great, man.
series.
That's great. Yeah, I like talking to. Yeah, I just like hearing different opinions. Oops, that was my
Yeah,
phone.
that's one of the best things about the Monster Hunter community. I think is just hearing different opinions. I think they always have something. Everyone in the community has something unique to say.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that kind of stems out of that each Monster Hunter game is different. Like
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
it's not like let's say some games like they keep on things throughout some games, like for example Mountain, right? And they added that in
Mhm.
4 and that's still a thing. While some things like underwater combat or some things like the guild system, like, so some things come out and some things come in, so it's like really cool. So there's like niches in every game, which is like really cool.
Yeah, no,
um
I completely know what you mean. And I think that's a big part as to why some people just like other games. And I have a lot of criticisms about a lot of the Monster Hunter games, and I don't think that any of them are bad inherently because it's an opinionated thing.
mm,
But it's personal. Like I don't like this. For me, with some of them. Um,
mm, yeah,
so yeah, I wouldn't go as far as to say it's objectively bad. It's for me to say I don't like it for these reasons.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only way for a game such as Monster Hunter, or a game in general, the only way I would say something is objectively bad is if the design for what they're trying to do doesn't meet the outcome. For
Yeah.
example, let me say the game is trying to make you to, okay, I'm trying to think of a really good example for this actually. Okay, let's say there's 3 weapons, all right, and
Mhm.
the game tells you, okay, use different weapons for different monsters because to take advantage of their weakness, for example. But
Yeah.
if the game itself, they've said that's what you need to do, but the game itself doesn't actually lay the game out that that's actually what's beneficial for the user to do, then I would say, okay, that implementation of what they wanted to do is objectively bad because they haven't met their goal they were trying to do in the first place. If you understand what I'm saying.
It's sort of like they're setting up dissonance. So whenever they're telling you to do something, and then they don't lay it out in a way that's like nice to do it in the way they want you to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I would agree that that's probably bad game design. I mean, of course, you're gonna find some weird people that probably still like that,
Yes,
and
that's
that's still
fine.
up to subjectivity. But yeah, definitely, I think that would be more leaning toward objectively bad, or negative game design.
Yeah, true. But so you had something to say as well.
Yes. So I wanted to jump right in actually about Monster Hunter Rise.
Oh, go for it. Yeah, go for it, man.
Well, actually, let's hold off on that just for a second. I wanted to get to know a little more about you first. So I was going to ask you, when did you get into the Monster Hunter series, and what game did you hop in on?
Okay. So uh, so Try was my first game. I started in
Mm,
Try. So that's back probably like 2011, 2012. Yeah. I fell in love with the game straight away. I'm not like most people who hate Monster Hunter the first time they try it. Like
yeah.
I liked it straight away, even though I was a noob. I was learning. I was testing new things. Like, I like testing. So I was testing things in Try, and then it just kind of grew on from then. I got 3U, I got 4U, Gen U, World, and then I played a bit of Iceborne. I haven't actually completed Iceborne. We can get into that later.
Okay, yeah.
But then also Rise as well.
Okay, yeah, awesome. Um, I guess I'll go back with what I started with then. I started actually in World 3 or 4 years ago now, I
Mm,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah, I started pretty late into the series. I immediately fell in love with it though. Since I started playing, I don't know if you know who Video Game Donkey is, but he made like a funny review on it, and that's what actually like piqued my interest into the game and
Wait,
got me to play it.
Donkey. Is he that YouTuber of the donkey, like Image as he's like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I know him. Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
Yeah. He's pretty funny. I like him, but he like wanted he got me to get into it. It was really funny.
Nice.
And so me and my friends all played through it all the way up to Xeno'jiva, and then they all kind of dropped it, but I kept playing through the updates and stuff, and I kept loving it. I played through all the Arch-Tempereds, and I just couldn't stop playing it. And then I saw that Generations Ultimate was coming out on the Switch,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a Switch just for that.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and then after
Monster
like
Hunter's one of those games that people go out their way to get a console just to play that game.
literally, yeah. Like I've been telling my friends that the only way I get a PS5 or an Xbox Series X is if the next Monster Hunter game is exclusive to either of those consoles. It's the only reason I'll get them. But yeah, so I remember just playing through the summer on Generations Ultimate, which was the second game I played in the series. And then after Ultimate, I don't think I played another Monster Hunter mainline game for a while until Rise came out. But I know I played through Stories 1, and then Rise came out, and I played through all of that, and then Stories 2 after that. And then now I'm working through 4 Ultimate, which is a lot of fun. I got to the end of the Story Village quest, which was very cool. I beat what was his name, Shagri Magala, which I enjoyed a lot. Yeah, so I've complete all the Monster Hunter games I've played except for the 4 Ultimate. I still need to hop back into that. And you said you haven't beaten Iceborne yet, though.
No, I never. Because what happened was I was playing World. Then I stopped. I pretty much got where I wanted to get in World. I mean, I did some. I stopped playing the game. Then I came back, did Octempered.
Yeah.
Then I kind of dropped the game. And then my friend, he started playing GU, and I had GU, but I never really played GU. I just had it because I imported my data from the 3DS, and he was having a lot of fun. And I was like, oh cool, yeah, I've got the game. Let me jump in, and I jumped in, and I just fell in love, man. Like GU was so amazing. Like I was just playing it every day with him. Like we used to go to gym, and then we used to go to gym late, like 10 p.m. We get home at 12. Then we play Monster Hunter until 2 a.m. And that was our ritual for like every day. And then it was just Monster Hunter. And then when Iceborne came out, I wasn't that interested in World much. Because I also did buy World on PC. Cause I originally had an Xbox and I bought on PC. And going through it again, it wasn't too interesting. I bought it again because I wanted to play with some of my friends who only had PC, as well. Yeah, because they were really interested in trying out Monster Hunter, so I wanted to play through it with them. But it wasn't as I don't know. GU just had much more that I wanted at that time, so I just stuck to GU.
I really like the content at the end of GU. I thought it was a lot of fun. And I've actually, since Monster Hunter World's like my first Monster Hunter game that I've ever played, it's really nostalgic for me to go and play through it again. So I can play through Monster Hunter World a lot. I think I've played through it like around 20 to 30 times.
Damn, that is insane.
Yeah. Just to like Xeno'jiva, I don't think I've played through all the way through Iceborne more than like 5 times.
Sorry, what was you saying?
Just about how I played through like Iceborne only 5 times, and I played through World many times. My friends don't understand that, but the reason I played through World a bunch actually was just so I could get to learn how to use the other weapons, because I played through with Hammer, and Hammer's my main still throughout all the games, but I played through with Hammer the first time, and then I went to learn Hunting Horn, and then Greatsword, and then I just like did the rest of them in order, I guess.
So when you say you played through the games, did you literally like start a whole new
file? Yeah.
Wow. 20 times. That's crazy.
Like 20 or 30 times, which was really annoying on Xbox because there's not like a mod or anything to skip cutscenes, and I did it all on Xbox. So yeah. But I have 3 copies of World. I have it on Xbox, PS4, and PC.
Wow.
Yeah, just so I can play with all my friends.
Yeah.
Literally, that's the only reason. Yeah.
No, I get that. I mean,
so some of my saves are also on PS4 and PC, but most of them are on Xbox.
Well, I'm just thinking the amount of hours you must have racked up. I mean, maybe you played Monster Hunter more than me. Like, that's crazy.
Maybe World. I haven't been playing a lot of Monster Hunter recently because of Elden Ring, but that's that's just really recent.
Yeah.
I actually started playing through Stories 2 again, to be honest.
That's cool. Yeah, I've started streaming Stories 2. It's been fun. It's been fun, definitely.
Yeah. No, I've seen that. How far are you into that?
Not too far. So I think the second village now.
Second village.
Yeah, so I started to see Ludroths. I saw Tetsukabra. That was pretty cool.
Okay, so that's where you are at?
Yeah.
I think I grinded through it like at my sister's apartment last weekend. After I finished moving her in, I just slept there and stayed up late and played Stories 2, and so I got pretty far. I think I'm right around where you are actually.
Nice. Is the game long, or is it not too?
Oh, it's pretty long actually. It took me like around probably 50 hours to get through it, but that's because I really got sidetracked into a lot of the side quests. You could probably get through it a lot faster than I did.
Damn.
It's a long game though, and I like it. There's a lot of DLC you can do after you beat it as well.
That's great, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's great. I love stories too. It's
yeah,
awesome. I would
yeah,
be. I kind of hope that they have like an expansion for it actually, because that'd be great.
yeah. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but it would be nice for the people who are really interested in the game to get more.
It's not gonna happen because I mean expansions always sell less anyway. I don't think Stories 2 sold as well as Rise did even, but
No, it didn't even touch that. I mean, I think
nah.
Stories 2 sold probably like a million. Yeah, at least a million. They didn't say anything
Yeah.
after that, so maybe I'm gonna say more than a million, less than 1.5 million. I'm gonna say between that.
Yeah, probably around that area.
Yeah,
I'd maybe shoot a little higher, maybe like right around 1.5 million. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the number that sold, but yeah, a lot of work went into it, especially with the just the variety that they had. It was one of the best monster variety in any of the Monster Hunter games. It's a
yeah,
off series game, which is fun.
yeah,
I
yeah.
really like Stories too.
I suppose.
It's
Yeah,
fun.
it makes it. I guess developing it is easier for gaming Stories 2 rather than a game like in the mainline games itself because of the way the games are structured.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a lot easier because they don't have to make like a million animations for each monster and have different hit zone values. It's
Mhm,
a lot easier.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah. But it's also kind of required in that type of game as well because if you don't have enough monsters when you're going through the world,
Oh
it's,
yeah, if it's not like Pokemon and you have like 100 at least. I know there's not nearly as much as there is in Pokemon, but there's still quite a few monsters and stories too.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
But yeah, they have to fill it up, otherwise it's going to be kind of empty.
Yeah.
Like if it was just like Rathalos and Rathian and then like some other wyverns.
Nah, that would be a problem. That would definitely be a
That
problem.
would it wouldn't have sold.
Nah, no, it wouldn't have. But yeah, it's really impressive. I've always tried to get some of my friends who are interested in Monster Hunter and like Pokemon to get the game, but I don't
Yeah, I
know.
tried the same thing. Yeah, my friend is absolutely obsessed with Pokemon, and I tried to get him into stories too, but he wouldn't even buy it.
Yeah, I'm just convinced Pokemon fans are just interested in Pokemon. Like no matter
I think
what,
so.
any other game that's similar that does things really well, they just won't try it.
And to be fair, Legends of Arceus was really good. I didn't play it, but all my friends say it was awesome, and I've seen gameplay, and it looks awesome. But so like, there's no reason to buy another Pokemon game until the next one comes out anyway.
True.
So like, Stories 2 isn't what they're looking for in between. Then it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, they have options. Yeah,
Yeah, they have a
'cause-
lot of options now. Like Legends of Arceus, I heard really knocked it out of the park. Like,
yeah, yeah.
it looks pretty good too. So I don't know. I'll get it eventually, but not now. All right. I think that is a good not segue, but I guess it's a good time to segue into Monster Hunter Rise though, because that's right around the same time as Stories 2 came out.
True. Yeah, go for it. You had the question you wanted to ask me about Rise.
I don't know if I want to ask you a question about Rise. I think maybe I
Oh,
just want to ask you questions about yourself.
okay.
Yeah, no. That's fine. But Rise, I just want to give a little bit of backstory. And I was actually really looking forward to Rise.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't consider myself like a Rise hater or anything. But a lot of people think that I go a little overboard with my opinions on why I don't like it that much.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not someone who was like really upset with it off the bat. Actually, I was really looking forward to it, especially after like I finished World and GU because it was like the first Monster Hunter game I could play on release that I would be there for that I've been looking up to. So it was like a huge deal for me. So I was really looking forward to playing it. And all the content that I saw leading up to it and also in the demo really led me to believe that this game was going to be everything I wanted and then some. But then like whenever the game fully released, it wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it wasn't obvious that it's not what I wanted until the end. And let me explain. So whenever you boot up Rise and you play through the whole story, the hub quest, not the village quest, because I played through the hub quest, not the village quest first. But I got through all of that, and it all felt pretty fine to me because it was introducing everything at a fine pace. The monsters didn't feel too easy initially because they were all new still, and they had new moveset changes. The maps I were unfamiliar with. And the final boss, Narwa, I thought was all right. I thought she did enough damage. But then after I beat the final boss, the main thing that hurt me was that there wasn't really anything to do except for grinding for talisman, which I didn't like. I didn't like the way it was implemented in Rise. And then the DLC came out, and I don't think it really added a whole lot. Like new monsters were cool and all. I think that the Elder Dragons like Valstrax, Kshala, Camellias, Teostra all deserve to be in the game, but I just don't think that they added enough. And then was there another DLC with more monsters? There was
It was
who else was there? There was
Apex
Basilgoose and then
Apex monsters.
yes.
Yeah.
That's right. But were there any like other ones that weren't Apex that were added? Other than the
Apart from the
Dragons?
Elder Dragons and Bezigeese, like you said, no.
I didn't think
Apexes.
so.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. I was excited for the Apexes because I thought they were cool fights. But another thing that bugged me was that there weren't any like real motivation for fighting them other than you can say that you did it.
Mm.
And especially because they were in rampages first, so you had to play through the rampage. And I didn't really like rampages that much at the end. I thought they were fun at the start, like in the story quests, but I didn't really find a whole big purpose for doing them outside of that, except for just getting the rampage weapons. And it was fun. Like after rampages are weird for me because a lot of people complain about them. But for me, I complain about them. But whenever I'm actually doing them, I'm having fun. As long as I'm with people, I'm having fun in rampages. To be honest, so I don't know. Rampages aren't that big a deal for me, but they feel like kind of a slog with some of the earlier ones, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Those are like my main complaints, and I could dive a little deeper into some other points later. But I wanted to know what you think of what I think so far.
Yeah, I think those are fair points. I mean, I think there's 3 different points there, and each one is a pretty genuine point that most people have issues with. I think I'll start with the later ones first, or in a different order. So one of the ones is about Apex is not having armor, and there's no incentive to actually hunt and grind stuff later on, which is definitely true. They didn't. Apexes don't have armor, which is a shame. I don't know why they didn't. They literally brought over the Deviants, but they changed the name, and then they didn't give them armor weapons, which is really weird.
Yeah, I thought that was really weird. It's not like that big of a deal for me. It's just unfortunate that it didn't happen because it could have like spread out the game time more.
Yeah,
I would have liked it. But yeah.
I think for people, it's not that much of a big deal, but in a vacuum, right? But then I guess if you add it on to, some people might not like the talisman grind, and they think about the DLC. They wanted a bit more DLC, new monsters. Like when you add it all together, and that's what I think. This is going to lead me back to the first thing you said when you said you didn't hate Rise, but you like it, but you just things about it that you don't. There's certain things about it that you don't like, right?
Yes. It was kind of like if Rise was the first Monster Hunter game I've ever played, I would still love it. I would still think it's my favorite game. Yeah. But because it was preceded by Monster Hunter World Iceborne, it just didn't hit for me.
Yeah.
Because I felt like looking back at Iceborne and Base World, I feel like those 2 games just did so much right that I wish Rise also did.
Yeah. And I think it's... I don't think many people actually hate Rise. I think a lot of people just dislike certain things about it, which is much different. I think some people find it hard to articulate what they don't like. Like I've been talking to a lot of people, and they say something feels wrong, but they don't understand. They can't bring it up. They don't understand why that is. And I think it's many small things that they don't know is a problem at all.
Exactly. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. It's a lot of small, minor things that kind of add up into one main reason, which I think is kind of just that Rise doesn't have a lot of things to do with the end of the game.
Yeah, I think I've done a couple of videos on that where definitely difficulty is a big issue, and that adds on to how much you have to do. The more replayability, the longer it takes you to fight a monster. Definitely the latter half of the game, and then also
I wanted to touch on difficulty as well.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But then also the fact that Apex monsters don't have armor, the fact that I guess some people feel a bit jaded because DLC added in the end of the story. They added in monsters that people feel like should be in the base of the game, which I'm not going to disagree with. But I will, as a caveat, I will say COVID has had a big point to play in how that came up.
Sorry, go ahead.
Even if that's the case, as a consumer, you have the right to, you have the right to be disappointed. But it's just good to have that in mind that's a fact.
I 100%. I definitely gave them some slack actually because of COVID. I remember being a little lighter on them initially, until before I realized that I kind of just didn't like it. And I kind of kept telling myself that I did like it because it was Monster Hunter, and I've always been really biased with Monster Hunter. So I kind of just told myself it was a great game, and I just kept playing it until I just literally ran out of villager requests and achievements to do that were interesting to me.
Yeah.
And I think COVID, I give them a lot of slack for that because they did have to work through that. But I would have really preferred that they just delayed Rise another few months, and that would have come out completed. And then I feel like they could have had more leeway to add more later on.
Yeah, 100%. They had the decision that they wanted to release it before the financial year ends, so they can get a good budget shoot. And that's the choice they made, and there's repercussions of that. So that was up to them. And then as consumers, it's up to us to perceive it as we will. But also take into consideration of the things around that. But like you say, yeah, if they delayed it, it probably would have done much better for, I guess, in community wise. And then maybe, I don't know how that would affect DLC after, because a lot of people are under the presumption that they've taken some of the stuff that was going to come after. They've thought about putting into Sunbreak. I don't want to put too much into that because I have no idea if that's true.
There's really no evidence to support that, so I doubt it, honestly. I think the way it would affect the DLC after, though, is they could have just put all the DLC content in the base game to begin with, and then they could have added extra stuff. Like we could have gotten maybe like either new monsters entirely, or a Siege, or Devil Joe, or something like that, or something returning. Or they could have added Apex armors along in the game. I feel like there's so many things they could have added had they been given like 3 extra months to work on it.
Yeah.
And the Monster Hunter community is very, very forgiving. Like we would not have minded in the long run.
Yeah.
I know I wouldn't have, because adding 3 like months onto development time would have probably added another like 6 months onto playtime.
Probably. I mean, there's a lot of things they could have done to add on to the playtime. One of the other things which I wanted to come up to from what you said before was not having some type of hypered or tempered monsters was a big issue as well.
I didn't like that.
That's one of the things that added a lot to World's endgame. Because World without tempered monsters would be in a very, very similar issue in Rise. Maybe in some cases worse for older fans due to
I see myself. Sorry, if World didn't have tempered monsters and investigations, I think I probably would have dropped it pretty quickly, actually.
Yeah.
And Arc Tempered actually really even pushed it farther with me getting more playtime in it, because it took me a long time to beat some of those Arc Tempered monsters, because I did them all solo.
Yeah, same man, exactly. Congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I did a lot of difficult challenges in World. I actually beat Extreme Behemoth as well.
Nice.
Not solo, obviously. I did it with the group in Base World though, and it was a lot of fun.
It's impressive, man.
Yeah, that was probably like the greatest thing I've ever done in a Monster Hunter game was Extremeth.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I think that difficulty is a big lacking thing in Rise.
Yeah.
Just because we don't have any like really superb challenges like that, and we have the Apex or emergency quests. And I'll give them this: they are harder, but not hard enough, because I still beat all of those my first try. Which maybe that's not common. And maybe I just got lucky, honestly. But I did it. I did beat every single Apex emergency quest on my first try. Even the Valstrax one, which I think is the hardest quest in the game, is the Advanced Valstrax solo quest in the Infernal Springs.
Yeah, that one's crazy.
That's my opinion, but that's just because they made Valstrax big, and so it's hard to like dodge a lot of his attacks. He's physically larger.
True.
Yeah, I really struggle with that quest.
That's difficult because it's hard to know. Yeah, if that's an objective, it's just objective thing to you because maybe you gotten better at the game. For example, when going back to World, when it came to ATs, most of them I did it my first go. The only one I didn't do my first go was AT Nergigante, and that was because of that one move where he jumps up and hits you really fast.
That move was total bullshit.
Yeah, and everyone calls out on the bullshit. Like if that move didn't exist, I probably would have finished him on the first go as well.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't finish any of the Arc Tempereds in my first go. That's because I was way younger. I was like, that was probably like 2 or 3 years ago now. By the time the Arc Tempereds came out, so I was around 12 or 13.
Damn, so you're still young.
I'm pretty young. Yeah, I'm still in high school.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So I was around 12 or 13 whenever I was doing the Arc Tempered. So I still had a soft, mushy baby brain. So I didn't really, I couldn't comprehend things as well.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed doing them still.
Yeah, and probably for me, like by then I was probably at 24, 25, and I've already had like 7 years experience in Monster Hunter. So
yeah, you had a little leg up on me there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. No, but from what you've been saying overall, I think the 3 things that would have definitely fixed it, like we're saying, was some type of tempered or hypered, more difficult quests overall, and then also Apex monsters giving you armor. I think that would have added so much longevity, and in the long term, because like you said, initially you're having a lot of fun, but then in the long term you realize there's not much incentive for you to do stuff. You didn't want to really fight those monsters because there wasn't much to do there. Those 3 factors would have added a lot to the end game. That was something that when it comes to critiquing Rise, those are the 3 things that mostly 2, the hypered and the Apex armor. Those are the 2 that I critique.
Yeah, those are like two of my big things right there. I think the biggest thing for me is just the overall difficulty because going back and looking back at Rise, it is really, really easy. I think like not even subjectively, I think it might even be objectively easier than the older games.
It
And
is
it's hard to dispute that.
yeah, I think it's definitely easier. But one thing I do appreciate when it comes to difficulty is the way they scale it is much better than they've ever done before. But let me
I agree with that.
yeah, just in case people don't understand what I'm talking about, I'll explain it. Like the first quest you do, it should definitely be easy. It shouldn't be super difficult.
No, they shouldn't like hit you in the face with a brick on the first quest.
Exactly, but that's exactly what they do in the old games, and that's when people just drop the game straight away because
Yeah.
you don't understand the mechanics. You're jumping in. The first monster does a lot of damage that it shouldn't do, and then you die, and then people give up. Rise now they made it so the first monster is quite simple. It's quite easy. You understand the game, and the further you get in the what's it called the list of stars, the monsters do more damage. It's gradual. It does go up and does go up. Where when you get to 7 stars, monsters can do more than half your health in one hit. But the problem is the starting point of the difficulty and the ending point, it doesn't scale high enough. Like the coefficient of how much it goes up isn't high enough. So they need to lift up a bit. And then I think that would have really fixed a lot. But because I think the scaling is good, but where the scaling starts from, where it ends, isn't enough. But it's definitely much better than they've ever done in the past.
I 100% agree with you there. I think one of the best Monster Hunter games actually with scaling like that is maybe Monster Hunter. I think it's Freedom 2 because I just know it's the one with Tigrex in it. Because the way that game is is the one quest where you have to get Popo tongues. It eases you in. It's just a gathering quest where you have to fight Popos, but Tigrex is on the map, and so it very quickly teaches you that he one shots you with all his moves. So maybe just don't fight him.
Yeah.
It kind of relies on player intuition in that area, and I really like that because I respect games that respect me as a person and my knowledge, because I should be able to figure that out on my own. Oh, I'm not supposed to win this fight. I just need to run.
Yeah.
It's like it's like in World whenever on the Great Jagras quest, Anjanath was on the map, and if he was in the same room with Great Jagras, he would toss him around like a pillow.
Yeah, true.
Clearly out of your pay grade, so they want you to not fight that because it'll one shot you.
Yeah,
and I think World also did a good job in that regard, but like in Freedom 2, they really forced the Tigrex on you. It made you run and feel fear, which I liked.
Yeah, no, for sure. That sounds interesting. I didn't know that one about Freedom.
Oh, you didn't really?
No, I don't know too much about the older games. Most
I
of my
really
knowledge,
like the older games.
Yeah, most of my knowledge comes from Try and onwards. So when people talk about older games, I just have to take their word as it is. And yeah. But I might need to do some more research on that.
I think Freedom 2 is one of the cooler ones. I think it's a portable game. I'm not sure though. I need to do more research on that myself. But I looked it up online. It says that's the first game Tigrex was in, and that's the one where he like surprise attacks you with Popo. You have to get Popo tongues, yeah. And it's just scary because he chases you around, and I love it. And I've always wanted to go back into those older games.
Well, one thing interesting when it comes to, actually no, let's continue if there's anything else you wanted to bring up when it comes to Rise or.
Yeah, actually there is. I want to get your thoughts on the Wirebug and weapon balance in general in the game.
Oh, okay. So,
Do you want me to give my thoughts first, if you want to think?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So I think that the weapon balance in Rise is a little too much in the player's side, because I want to bring up Freedom 2 again. The older games really limited the player and what you were able to do, and I really liked that because it made you feel more insignificant compared to the monsters, because the monster was really the wondrous thing in the background, in the backdrop of the scenery that you were in. I'm getting a lot of this wording and stuff from another YouTuber, but that's because I partially agree, so it's going to sound similar. They're called Jacob Monster Hunter, but that's beside the point. I really like how the monsters, like the big striking image, and that it's what you want to pay attention to. Now it's more like the monster is there, and you are also equally as present as the monster, and in some cases significantly more present because of the strength that the weapons allow you to have. Specifically, like, I don't want to point fingers like everyone does, but longsword is really overtuned in Rise. Yeah, I think that's fair to say, because it kind of is. It has like 3 counters.
Yeah, it does have a lot of counters, which is
it has the Foresight Slash, it has the Spirit Sheath, and then it also has the Wirebug counter. It has 3. Like, that's kind of absurd.
Yeah, that is a lot.
Yeah, and so I think because of all this stuff that the player has access to in the fight, it really makes you feel stronger than the monster. Like half the time it feels like I'm bullying the monster. And moments like that in previous games where it felt like your team was like really destroying the monster, it always felt so satisfying because it almost never panned out that way. But because it is every single hunt in Rise where you can just like you can stun lock monsters infinitely with any weapon. Everything is super busted and can counter anything. It just feels like you're too fast for the monster to keep up with. It doesn't feel like those moments are as special anymore where you're really winning. And that's just my opinion, but I'm sure some people really did get a lot of struggle in Rise and felt that way. But I feel like a majority of the people who already are familiar with the series did not get the same kind of rush.
Yeah, yeah. So when it comes to balance, I
Mhm.
mean, I refuse to believe there's anyone on YouTube that cares more about balance than I do when it comes to Monster Hunter. I've done so many videos on balance.
Yeah,
In
I've
depth.
watched quite a few of them.
I'm in depth of why I care so much about balance. Because I think even in single player games, balance is really important.
Oh,
And
definitely, yeah. Balance is one of the most important things in a game.
yeah, yeah, because it incentivizes people to try out different things. If the person doesn't feel like it's worth trying something else because something is so damn strong, then
Mhm.
it breaks how your game works.
Functions,
Yeah,
yeah.
functions overall, because they'll just stick with that one option. It happens a lot in many games. For example, I'm always hearing about bleed in Elden Ring. It's so powerful. People just stick with that, or mage in that game. People just stick with that. Um,
Yeah, yeah, Magic and Bleed is pretty busted in Elden Ring. I haven't finished it yet, so I haven't done any PvP stuff, but
I'll get
yeah.
to the game eventually, but I haven't
Yeah,
finished. I haven't
I
started
wanna
it.
touch on Elden Ring later as well.
Yeah, but what's it called? There's definitely issues when it comes to balance, and I think there's always been issues in Monster Hunter when it comes to balance. I don't think any game has done it as I'd like to. But one thing I do wonder is it an issue to add new things? Like adding new things, you shouldn't not add new things as a
No, I
detriment
agree with you there. I think new
of
things should always be added, but I
yeah.
don't think it should be added to the degree that Rise did because the game I think is easy enough that if you had like mobility from world, like without any Wirebug shenanigans or any of that, it wouldn't have been like that much tougher in my opinion because of all the other factors like the potions healing more, the amount of damage you do in the first place. I think if you had the same moveset but you did the same damage as you did in world, it wouldn't have felt that much different to be honest. Um, but the fact that you also, on top of that, have the movement you have in Rise and the amount of options that you have with switch skills and all that, it's like it's impossible to balance almost. There's so much that the developers have to account for.
I
Um,
think it's difficult to balance, but I think it's definitely possible.
I know
There's
I'm
definitely
over
ways.
exaggerating, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah. There's definitely ways you can balance and add new things. One thing, for example, is making raw weapons not too strong. Making
Yes,
it so each elements and status have more of an input in games in the
I've
game.
wanted that since World because ever since like I used a lot of elemental hammers and stuff in World because I
Yeah,
thought it was cool. It matched well, and I remember making an Uragan hammer for Arc Tempered Felhazak because I knew he was weak to fire, and then I looked up guides and stuff, and it said don't do that. You're doing less damage if you
yeah,
use elements on a hammer, and I'm like, oh okay. I went through all the trouble to make it, and now it's just worthless.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's really like an issue for me that elements just aren't useful in Monster Hunter. I
yeah.
really like the of like matching and it makes me feel strategically intelligent. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's many full facets like that. Like another one would be the cooldowns on Wirebugs. I think it's fine to have a counter if you can only use it once in a while. Like, oh, this is
Yeah,
one big move that if I don't block this, I'm screwed. So I'm gonna save my Wirebug for that. That's a strategic way of playing around this monster's mechanic that may really mess you up. I think that's a really fine way of playing the game. For example, in GU, um, when I was fighting what's it called EX Tigrex, well,
oh,
there was only I had to save my evasion moves specifically for certain moves to use because if I didn't, I'm going to be screwed. And that was
exactly. Yeah,
really engaging between me and him. Even though I have options, those options are limited to a certain time, so I can do cool things, but it's not as often as we do it now. So
Mhm.
they need to increase the cooldowns on a lot of these moves. Definitely the counters. I think
I
adding the
agree.
movements. I think adding a lot that they're added is fine. It's just some
I
things around it needs refinement to really make it more engaging for people like yourself, for example.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think another thing could be maybe just make all Wirebug skills better, and then make them all cost 2 Wirebugs. Like all the ones that aren't as good as the one that cost 2 Wirebugs, make them cost 2 Wirebugs, and then make them better. That could increase the risk of using them, because then no matter what you do, it gives you more options, because you have like safety skills and you have damage skills. But no matter what, it's going to cost you, and then it of course makes you wait for both of them to come back if you want to use anything in combat again.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
But it even goes deeper than that. And I don't see people talking about this much at all when it comes to actually skills in Monster Hunter. Skills in Monster Hunter, there's a massive issue, and there's always been an issue where offensive skills are way too powerful, and people always levitate to them. No matter how hard the game is, the older games, no one wants defense, no one wants all the defensive skills. No one cares about them because
Yeah, literally. In World, or Iceborne rather, whenever before any of the updates came out, we would use Teostra armor would be the meta, but then because the Arch Temper Teostra helmet was better, it had so much less defense, you take a lot more damage, but it didn't matter because it was better than the Master Rank Teostra helmet, so they used it anyway for the Master's Touch set bonus.
yeah, exactly. A lot of the skills, a lot of the offensive skills need to be balanced, and a lot of the defensive and utility skills specifically need to be brought up a higher peg. They need to be more engaging. They need to be more useful in certain hunts. For example, Tremorez. There's not many monsters that use Tremorez, but there's a decoration. And even if there is a monster that uses Tremorez, Tremor isn't much of an issue that you actually need to bring it. Things like that.
Tremors are not very threatening, you're right. There's really no point to having Tremorez.
Wind resistance, a lot of the times it's not as useful. And now, in Rise, since we have more counters, roars aren't as impactful. So, earplugs isn't as useful. So go on.
I think a good way to balance it would be maybe make it harder to actually reach the max level on a lot of these attacking skills, and make it so that they're only really good later than in those levels, but make it easier to build for the defensive skills. So maybe instead of having max level wind res, which is the only useful level of it anyway against like monsters like Kashala, be level 5, maybe just make it like a level 3 skill, because that would make it way more appealing to go for. Because right now I don't even care about it because of how expensive it is to go for level 5 wind res. 5 jewel slots, I can't afford that.
Yeah.
Because having attack is better anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's too much. It's good. It's a good idea, and people have to compete when it comes to level two slots. Like if they want, do they want more, what's it called, more stamina regain, or they just might as well just get more attack, right? More crit, more
exactly. Yeah,
tenderizer. There's no point, and I think that's a big issue. It's always been an issue. It's still an issue in 5th gen with the new system, and it might be even more of an issue now in 5th gen because of the amount of skills you can have at once compared to the old games.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right there. I think the only good defensive skill in the newer gen games is health boost in World, because it was really good in Iceborne at least. But health boost isn't even a thing in Rise. It's just gone because of Sperry Birds.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I didn't even notice that it was gone until I tried to find it and it wasn't there.
Yeah. Health boost is a weird one.
It is weird, but it was really good in World because defense wasn't important. It was just the amount of health you had, which was good.
Yeah, exactly.
So having an extra 50 hit points was just so much more worth having than an extra 25 defense.
Yeah, it makes things much easier.
1000%. Yeah, it just allowed for more errors too, and I don't know. It's a lot of the stuff that combines together with the attack skills. Also, you fit in level 3 health boost, and then you can also fit in every other attack skill in the game.
It's pretty busted. It's too much.
It's so busted.
It's way too much.
It felt more egregious in Iceborne, especially around Fatalis. But a lot of people complain about the Fatalis set because of how busted it was. But I didn't care too much because it was the last monster.
Yeah. No.
If they'd released 12 other monsters after that, I would have been yeah. But yeah, no, I don't see a big issue with the Fatalis armor set and weapons just because it is the last one. You might as well have fun,
That's fair enough. Before we come back to the other topic, I will say, I guess for me, I mean, like I said, I never played Iceborne that much, but
yeah,
I would say that's, for me at least, that would still be an issue, but I could understand that some people would like that, but I would still see that as some type of issue. Definitely compared to the older games where even, Fatalis armor, the last monster in the game, his armor isn't busted. It's just different, right? It's just a different...
It's just, yeah, exactly. It's not really... I know his white Fatalis armor actually in G was really good. It's one of my main sets, is just full set of white Fatalis armor.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, it's not like overpowered or anything. It's just another good option.
Yeah, I can't
It's
think
usually either that
of
or Atalka.
I can't think of any armor in GU apart from Autocar that I wouldn't want to always run. Even Autocar, because you really need to invest into to make that powerful. You need to
I mean,
really
I put in the time and it's really good. So.
yeah. When you put in time, it's really good. But apart from that, there's no armor that I would say is the king armor. Like
No, definitely not.
there's always something different I would try to go for or use because
I really
it just
like that.
works.
I wish it was more like that in newer gen. I wish that there was more weapon options. Like I wish like element was a
Yeah.
greater factor, so there would be more weapon options. And I wish that armor wasn't just like so overpowered.
Yeah, honestly,
one set wins.
they should just look at GU and take a lot because I think GU did weapons perfectly. They did armor perfectly. They did a lot of things really good in that game, which is impressive.
Yeah, honestly, in Rise it was all right before Valstrax because Valstrax became the meta overall.
Yeah, then it became the meta.
Before that, like before the title updates at all came out, like it wasn't. There was no set meta armor set. Everything was pretty mixed matched, and I like that a lot.
Yeah. I definitely want to see that more in the future.
Definitely.
But so I wanted to come back to what you're saying about balance. I think another issue is I noticed this starting in World, and now they're continuing to rise that monsters flinch much more than they used to, and that's a problem when it comes to multiplayer. Because when you're hitting the monster, when a lot of people are hitting the monsters, if they're getting flinched so often, it just allows more and more things to happen again and again. Which I think that's an issue.
Do you mean like KO'd or do you mean like just
both?
Like slightly flinched?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Definitely KO's an issue as well. I think they're getting KO'd more. Like I think in World, if I'm using a hammer, I can KO a monster like 4 times. In Rise, maybe not 4, but maybe 3 times. Maybe
it's funny because hammer's not even the best weapon to KO monsters with its heavy bowgun.
Yeah, exactly. Which is it's a problem as well.
You do it like 7 times with heavy bowgun.
Yeah, which is another thing I want to come on to. But yeah, I think if that's something they need to address. But all these little small things, if they just address them all, it just adds up to the whole being so much grander. Because I think, I mean, I know some people. One of my issues with the arguments that I see some people saying, delete Wirebugs, it's too much movement and stuff like that. Is I think it's an absolute type of mentality where it's like, okay, it's not working, get rid of it. We don't need it. I'm not that type of guy. I'm the type of guys. What's wrong with this? How can we refine it to make it better? Because I think what is there is great. It's just refinements that can make it even better and be like so much more enjoyable for everyone. It's not just delete this.
I really like the Wirebug, like in theory, and in practice, it's not exactly what I want. But I think there's ways that they can improve it to make it, excuse me, exactly what I want. Like you said.
Yeah.
Do I want Wirebug for the next like Monster Hunter game? No. I think it'd be better if it stayed as the Rise thing, like 100%. I think that reusing concepts like that wouldn't be beneficial to the series overall because every unique concept gives each unique game its unique feel.
Well, we say that, but then, like I said earlier on in this discussion, Mountain has been added on to World, but that's never been an issue for people. It's been an issue. It was a bit of an issue for me in 4U, but in GU, Mountain was there still. That one continues on, but but I guess people don't really have an issue about that one making the game a bit easier or making. I
think mounting might be looked at differently because I don't think mounting was big enough in 4 Ultimate to be considered like the staple of the game. I think
in that game,
4 Ultimate is
okay. Yeah, let me just say in that game, if you most people use Insect Glaive in that game at the time the game came out, and monsters were getting mounted continuously. But
that's true.
When they get mounted, you can't even hit them. So otherwise the person who mounts, it has to get knocked off. The system itself didn't make much sense at all. But then when GU came, they fixed the system. They made it much better. Which is how I think things, going forward, it's fine to keep things as long as you refine it for the future. So I think if they do I understand that some people don't like the feature, but if they do keep something going forward, they could refine it. They could limit stuff. They could make things more enjoyable, like they did in GU or other implementations that they've had in games overall.
I honestly, I don't think I have a preferred mounting style between the games because I've played 4 Ultimate, GU, and World, and I like them all, to be honest. I don't think I noticed a difference between 4 Ultimate and GU. What is the difference between the two? Why is GU better?
So in GU, when you're riding the monster, if your teammates are hitting the monster, they're actually assisting you for the knockdown.
Okay.
While in for you, if you hit a monster while someone's on it, they will get knocked off automatically. The monster will get frustrated and they'll just get knocked off. So you shouldn't hit them at all in for you. You just have to wait, basically. So you're just preparing for the person to get them down, and then you do your stuff.
See, I didn't know that at all because I haven't played online for Ultimate yet.
Yeah, a lot of people don't talk about that. A lot of people don't talk about a lot of things when it comes to for you, which is interesting. But
yeah, I think for Ultimate I think it's one of the better games in the series because it's more simplistic, so there's less things to complain about.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still haven't finished it, so I can't really give my 2 cents on it yet.
I do have some complaints with for you, but it's more objective stuff. No, not objective. Subjective stuff overall.
And that's fine. You can have everyone has their own complaints. Like I think for Ultimate was kind of a slog to play through for me. But that's only because I already played through GU previously, and it has all the same monsters that GU does.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it does.
And so that's the only reason why I'm struggling to get through it. But otherwise, it's a great game.
It's definitely a great game. Yeah.
I think back to mounting. I think world mounting. I think might be my favorite. Now I'm thinking about it because it was really easy. It was actually maybe it was too easy, but I think that Elatrion, his mount was actually pretty difficult to get completed. If you ask me, I actually failed it a lot while doing it with my friends. So maybe I'm just bad, but it was different. I swear, Elatrion's mount in World felt different than it did to any other monster, and I really liked it that way.
Yeah. Well, normally, even in GU, just mounting Elder Dragons is much more difficult than riding your normal monster. Yeah. You need to really be on point or have stamina skills to really help your earplugs or something like that to really help you when you're mounting.
Yeah, no, I remember in GU, it was quite more difficult, which I think it would have been a nice balance to find like a middle ground where it was the world style, but it was harder to get finished because it's nice that you got it, but you still have to work for it. Like Elatrion's mount in GU, I don't think I ever got Elatrion's mount finished actually in GU.
It's almost impossible.
It's really tough.
Yeah, it's insane. It's actually
you needed help from your friends.
Yeah, for sure. Because if you didn't, you're not doing it. You're not doing
exactly,
it.
Exactly. Yeah. What do you think of Wyvern Riding?
I think Wyvern Riding. I think Wyvern Riding is fun, and I think it's a good system. I think it needs refinements in that it happens way too often, and because it happens way too often, people get tired of it quicker. It can make things easier again. So, like I said, another thing that adds on to the problem of easier things in Rise.
Difficulty.
Yeah, difficulty. Yeah.
I was going to talk a little bit about Wyvern Riding. So I think Wyvern Riding is great, but I kind of draw the line where you can Wyvern Ride like Rathians and Rathalos and Rajang and everything like that's like how can you physically as a human control their limbs with the strength that you have? Like sure you can lift a greatsword, that's one thing.
Is it though? Is lifting a greatsword really one thing though? That shouldn't happen either, right?
It shouldn't happen. But to draw the line there, why aren't you just using your hands to manhandle the monsters in the first place then? If you're that strong to maneuver them like that, you could just like rip their arm off.
That is true, but what I mean by that is there's many things in Monster Hunter Universe that don't make sense in real life universe. But I guess people's issue when it comes to Wyvern Riding is because they've already had their perception of what's possible in this universe, right? Yeah. And their perception of what's possible in this universe was that's not possible, and now it is possible. So now their perception has been broken on that shouldn't be able to happen.
It's very immersion breaking whenever it's an Elder Dragon. Like Teostra should just explode the wires right off of him.
That is true, but if you also think about it, how can you mount those monsters? All you have is a dagger, and you're just stabbing into their back. How is that possible?
The mounting, I mean, they made it harder. Definitely, I think just making it harder to actually control them. I think if it was like insanely difficult to mount Elder Dragons or Wyvern Ride Elder Dragons rather, and you needed a special skill like Wyvern Ride Expert or something, and it made it so you could Wyvern Ride another tier of monster, but like it was hard to gather the skill, or maybe it was a Bunny Dango skill, so it was limited.
Yeah, 100% true. Like but like you're saying about the explosion should just burn up the Wirebugs. Why is it? But shouldn't that happen when you're just normal mounting them as well? You don't have any bugs. You're just using a sword. How can you stab them? You should be blown up instantly as well, isn't it? So
It definitely doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense in any game. Mounting doesn't make sense at all in most instances. But
I think that, yeah, I agree with you there. It definitely doesn't make sense overall. Like, none of the Elder Dragons should really tolerate you being on its back in any regard, especially like something like a Shala Deora,
yeah,
where he can just gust you like without even looking at you.
yeah,
He can just
yeah.
expel wind at will. So maybe they could refine it by, well, they wouldn't do this in Sunbreak, but they could refine it by giving the hunter some sort of attachment that like really grips onto the monster,
Yeah.
and that's kind of more believable. Like if you have it like a hunter's rope or something that you like wrapped around the monster's neck, and then you used that as leverage to stay on, and maybe you had to manage that to stay onto the monster, and then while like the monster's tired, then you stab. That would like be way more believable than you're just hanging on for dear life on like a piece of its shell or something.
Well, I don't know because rope, the Wirebug, the description of the Wirebug is literally like it's like steel.
But yeah,
It's strong. It should be stronger than a rope. In that sense.
I mean, I don't know if I subscribe to the fact that it's like strong like steel. Maybe. I mean, yeah. I guess I can't deny that if that's what they've said.
Yeah, I guess if
it's not my world.
Yeah, exactly. So if there's two things there. If we don't perceive it that way, then that's on us. But then also at the same time, why don't we perceive it that way? Is it because the game hasn't presented it well enough for us to perceive it that way? That's two questions.
Yeah,
that's two things we need to think about.
It's kind of strange to me, like the fact that the bugs are strong enough to support the player weight anyway.
Yeah.
Like that is a lot of this. It seems like the developers are just saying that it can happen, and so you're supposed to just kind of take that at face value, like, oh, okay, I guess it can happen. But like, it just doesn't make sense in certain regards, so it's harder for me to believe that some of this stuff is possible with the Wirebug.
Yeah, I understand that.
Main issue with it.
I think it goes both ways, but I definitely understand what you're saying. Maybe the devs haven't done a good enough job to present that, but at the same time, why do we perceive that as people? Like, I don't think anyone has ever questioned normal mountain. I'm actually interested in why, and that might be a question I need to think about.
That's a really good question, actually. I think you should probably ask that to more people on the Nova chats, because yeah, mounting, I've never thought about it actually until you brought it up, how normal mounting should not be possible, really.
No,
unless you have an assisted tool.
Like, how am I mounting Astalos? He should paralyze me instantly or thunderbolt me
almost instantly. Yeah, or like Kieran, you should not be able to ride it around like an actual horse.
Yeah, imagine you should be paralyzed, stunned, dead. Like,
literally, like maybe they could add that. Maybe the next Monster Hunter game they could add that. So trying to mount Elder Dragons just didn't work. Like they would just shoot you off of them or something.
I think they could even go a step further than that. I think, coming back to what you were saying before about some skill, I think that would be useful. But I haven't thought about this one enough, but there's definitely something they could do there to make it more interesting, but still make it happen.
I've never thought about it at all. Actually, I really like this idea, because I've never even brought this one to thought.
Yeah, and that's something. I mean, that comes down to something that I have an issue with some people when they critique Rise. I think people have had their lens of Rise, but they haven't thought about the things around it and some things they like themselves as well. I think more people need to really think about what they don't like and why they don't like it, and how compare it to what they like itself, and see if there's any comparisons in that. Because I'm not seeing that enough online myself, at least. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, like I definitely fall victim to that. I don't do that enough as I should.
Yeah, because I'm always, like I said, I've talked about how Rise doesn't do good in some of his endgame. 100%. I've talked about it so many times, but I love the game. It's my third favorite Monster Hunter game currently. Third. Third. I'll say it draws for me with 3U. 3U is a really good game to me. My favorite is GU, but there's so many things that could do better. 100%. I definitely agree.
Yeah, like for me, from the Monster Hunter games that I have played, it is not my favorite. And I haven't played all the Monster Hunter games, so I can't say it's the worst one. But out of the ones that I've played, which is just World, Iceborne, GU, and 4 Ultimate, I think it probably draws for last with like 4U, and the only reason 4U comes behind the rest of them for me is because I've already played GU, so the monsters just don't feel fresh to me.
Yeah.
So it's totally like my subjective opinion. And again, like, it had Rise been harder, and had like a little more stuff to do at the end game, it would have probably been like next to World.
I'm telling you, if I made Rise, if I was there helping them support it, it would have been everyone's favorite game. I'm telling you right now.
Oh,
100%.
dude, same. I know.
100%.
Had I been there.
I mean, I guess everyone says that, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I know what you mean, because it's a lot easier to develop a game that people like if you're an avid member of the community,
yeah,
because they're just the ones making it. They're not really like the community. They don't 100% know what the community wants, so it's harder for them to develop for us without just directly asking us, which is
yeah,
what they've done with the surveys.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
I remember like a while ago, actually. Remember they probably like around December, actually, they released a survey asking us stuff they wanted or about implementing. They
I
sound like
think I remember that. Yeah.
yeah. There was like a bunch of questions on it, like do you think that what do you think about the accessibility of the game, Monster Hunter Rise, or like what would you have done to improve it, or what games what Monster Hunter games have you played? Just like general questions and stuff. And then at the end, it left like a completely open ended response, and you could add whatever you wanted.
Hmm.
Yeah, there was one about crossplay, and I think crossplay is the next step in Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I think that would definitely bring things together for people. It's a big game already. Just getting more people to be able to play together wherever they want. It definitely would be a boon for them.
No,
Yeah.
100%. I always struggle to find people to play Monster Hunter with, actually, because I'm easily the biggest fan of it, like in the state that I live in.
Damn.
So no one else that I like play with wants to play it as much as I do, or wants to like. Yeah, that's it. Pretty much, they don't want to play as much as I do. So I'm always like left there, getting like playing by myself sometimes, and just getting really far ahead. And then I know my old group of friends that I played with got mad because I was like in World, I was like Hunter rank 500,
Wow.
and they were all like after Xenogy, but they took a small break, and I was like Hunter rank 500.
Yeah, yeah. So the experience that you already had, they haven't had yet. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
no, I get that. I 100% get that. Cool. We're coming up to the hour mark. I want to continue, 'cause I know we have a bit more to talk about, but let's continue for another like 5 minutes or so.
Okay. So the last thing I wanted to really talk about then is what you wanted to look at in terms of Monster Hunter 6, or what you would, I guess, desire from Monster Hunter 6.
The honest answer is I don't know, because I haven't actually thought about Monster Hunter 6 at all. I only really think about what's next, and at the moment that's Sunbreak. So
Okay.
I haven't thought about Monster Hunter 6 at all currently.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've actually been thinking a lot about Monster Hunter 6, and I kind of like wrote down like a whole thing in my head about like the exact story I want from Monster Hunter 6, and
Damn.
how the story is kind of like something I've always struggled with in Monster Hunter games, and 4 Ultimate really hit. And I think they could make another hit, but they'd have to do it differently.
All right, well, hit me with it then. Go for it.
So I'm kind of imagining it's completely open world, which is kind of a leg up from what they're used to, I guess. Although they've gotten used to it more, I guess, recently with World and Rise being fully open
True.
maps.
I'm not
So
sure. So, go for it.
yeah, I was gonna say that they could just make it like I think they could do it. It's not gonna be impossible, but it would be hard to port it to like the Switch or something like that, just because it being that big.
That is
So
true,
they'd have
but
to downscale it if they were to put it on Switches too. But I don't know. Maybe they just skip that.
I think open world Monster Hunter is definitely something a lot of thought needs to go into actually how that works.
Oh, 100%, yeah. And I have a really good idea in terms of the village system for something like that. And it's that it could be like a traveling village. And
Mm-hmm.
my idea is that it travels like it's a village basically built on the back of a huge monster. And I'm thinking like a big turtle. And I got that idea from concept art, actually. There's concept art of a monster that's basically a big sand turtle with a castle on its back.
Mm.
And it's really cool. This is Monster Hunter concept art. And I think they could reuse that in this regard, and make like a traveling village that you can kind of like go back to. And maybe it just like walks kind of around in like a circle around the map, and you kind of follow it. And maybe it only goes in like certain areas. And as you progress through the story, it'll actually travel through more of the map. So it allows you to get to certain areas more efficiently. So like if you wanted to go to like a snow area early on, it would be a really long trek, and it would take you forever to get there. And then by the time you get there, you have to go all the way back to get your stuff back to the village. But if you naturally progress, it becomes easier because the village will follow you there,
Yeah, that's pretty
which could be
interesting.
interesting. And then in terms of everything else like balancing and stuff, basically what we talked about, just balancing
Yeah,
and improvements there. And then I also was thinking if they wanted to make it like completely open world, this is another good idea, is just have all the villages that have been visited before in the series as visitable places.
so you can go to every single
Yeah, like
village.
Moga, Burna, what is it? Ooh.
I can't help you there, man. I don't remember
Yeah,
the names.
sorry, I forgot a lot of them. I haven't played GU in forever. They have some of them in GU. But like if they just added all of those as fully explorable places and then made those like the bases that you would be at in that area of the game at that point, then that would be perfect because it would be a great way to reuse assets. And they could add more villages too if they wanted. They don't just have to do the old ones. And if they really wanted to go really, really, really in depth with this, they could even add like the new world, but that would probably be like an expansion or DLC or something.
Probably. Probably.
But that's pretty much my thoughts. It's just open world Monster Hunter.
Oh. Yeah, that's. I guess when it comes to look at how Monster Hunter's developed, that's definitely the next step. That would make sense to be the next step. I just struggle to see how that's possible, but that might be because I haven't thought about it hard enough. Someone did bring this up once in a stream, and we did throw out ideas on how it could work, but I
thought about it a lot before. I don't have a lot of those thoughts in my head right now. I think the Palamute coming back would be great for an open world game. It'd be kind of like Torrent in Elden Ring.
I think you kind of need it. You would definitely kind of need it.
It would be. I think if they made Palamute less of an offensive companion, even more like mobility wise an option, then it would be like perfect. Because then you could also have 2 Palicos or just 1 Palico that's strong like in World again.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, you could do that.
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind them bringing back Palamute and 1 Palico or Palamute and 2 Palicos. Either would work. And the multiplayer is something that's a little more confusing to manage because they would have to probably just give everyone Palamute again. I don't really like in Rise how everyone has 1 buddy. It gives the monsters too much to focus on. But it's nothing game breaking for me.
Yeah, that's true. It does give them a bit too much to focus on, but I think it definitely does make sense that you have that ability, but something needs to be done about it. I haven't really thought about that one at all.
The only reason it's implemented is because of Palamutes and the traversal that's required with them.
Yeah, but I feel like that's something that should have always been a thing. Because definitely back in the old games, once you start playing online, and if you only play online, you never ever see your Palamute, your Palico again ever.
No,
and I think that's kind of a detriment in older games for sure, because a big part of them is being able to build up your Palico. Definitely in GU, the Palico is a massive thing. If you're playing,
I never really paid any mind to my Palicos in GU, to be honest.
Oh, that's a shame. But
I know, I realized that later on. But yeah,
I mean, when you have 3 people, and not being able to bring any Palicos, like, or 4, then it's like, oh, that's a bit of an issue. But I mean, yeah, I guess it wasn't really an issue because I guess maybe people didn't think about that. But now that I'm looking back on that, I can see that as something that would have been nice to have then as well. But like I said, now having that, it gives monsters too much to look at. I don't know.
There's a lot of ways they can balance it. Like maybe if you're in multiplayer and everyone has their Palico, maybe the monsters can only they just ignore the Palicos. Maybe they just only go for the players. Like they'll still do damage to the monster, but maybe they just straight up ignore them.
True.
And then they only go after the Palico and Palamute if you're in single player.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about that, but then I was thinking about then when it comes to HP, should the Palicos have less HP? Should they be should they still be able to die and stuff like that? Because in the new games, they pretty much don't die ever.
Yeah. Did they die in previous games? Did they die in 4 Ultimate?
Yeah, they die and they go away for a while, and then they'll come back.
Oh no, that's right. In GU, they works the same way in GU. I forgot that entirely. Yeah.
But in GU, they die way too quick. Like they
die really fast in GU.
Yeah, they're pretty useless at the end game, which is a problem as well. I definitely have a big problem with that.
Another quick thing I wanted to say about stuff I've done in Monster Hunter. Actually, I got all the way up to Bloodbath EX in GU.
Impressive.
And I've done that with I haven't done that with any of the other deviants. I just really like Bloodbath, so that's the only thing.
That's great.
It just popped in my head right now because I remember doing it with my Palicos and they all got 1 shot.
yeah, exactly. They always get 1 shot. It's pretty annoying, to be honest. And there's no way to help them out. Like you can't put anything defensively to help them out because it just won't do enough.
It won't. Like hard shell powder or anything like that just doesn't do anything.
Nope.
It's funny though. It's funny. I still haven't beaten Bloodbath EX though. I just got to him.
Yeah, let me know how that goes because that's an interesting fight for sure.
I haven't played GU in so long. I want to get back into it. Like every now and again, I get that rush. I just like, I should play GU today, and then I just don't do it. I don't know why. I want to though. It's so fun. I love GU.
For sure. GU is an amazing game.
I guess as a closing remark, I just want to talk about Elden Ring and its difficulty because that's something that I really liked. Playing through Elden Ring is actually the first From Software game I've ever played through, which is interesting because I haven't played through any Dark Souls games before, and a lot of new players to Elden Ring really aren't liking it because of how difficult it is. But I have been loving it. Every single difficult moment in the game never felt really unfair so far, except for Godskin Duo, which it's been great because it's always been a learning curve for every single fight in the game. It's incredible. I think it couldn't have been managed better. It's just fun. It's just fun to play.
Yeah.
Talk to friends about, learn everything because not all the secrets have been uncovered yet. And it's been out for like a month. So I mean, Elden Ring's just been it's just been a blast. I think they did the difficulty perfectly. I think that something interesting that I found is that I think Elden Ring is harder than Monster Hunter, like throughout the game, so from start to finish. But I feel like Monster Hunter is easier at the beginning, but it actually gets like harder than Elden Ring at the end, at least in world, because I think that Fatalis alone is harder than anything I've done in Elden Ring so far.
Wow.
In world at least, but that's the difficulty net that I want to
Yeah.
talk about in Elden Ring with the balancing. I think it's done really well.
Yeah, I think that's important. I haven't actually played Elden Ring yet. It will be I am gonna buy it, and it's gonna be my first FromSoft game as well. But I'm gonna wait until I get a new PC. But I think from what I've been hearing, I definitely think Monster Hunter Capcom can learn when it comes to the stories that can be told throughout from difficulty and learning from your mistakes and learning from other people's mistakes. Sharing information, I think that's something they could definitely add into their games to make it a bit more cohesive overall.
Definitely. It's kind of like how Magnum Malo is supposed to be this destructive force that causes the rampage and stuff like that. And in the demo, he exuded that a lot.
Yeah.
But in game, he was so easy. He was a punching bag.
He's definitely harder in high rank, but I guess damage scaling isn't enough.
Definitely. I don't think he was any more difficult in high rank, to be honest, in my opinion. But I don't know. I was. It's one of those things where people are like, "Oh, the hardest Monster Hunter game is the first one you play," and I think there's some truth to that because you still have to learn the series from the ground up. But I don't think it's as true as people say because I feel like if that were true, then I would have had a lot more trouble with 4 Ultimate, which was my newest one that I played, and I would have had a lot of an easier time with 4 Ultimate rather because it's the newest one I've played after playing multiple Monster Hunter games, and it's the hardest one I've played actually.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think there is something there, but it doesn't tell the whole picture. There's more to difficulty than that. Difficulty is it's a difficult thing. It's not just one thing. It's many things.
It's really hard to manage, and it's hard for the developers to get what they want because they want new players to play the game. They want to expand their player base more. And I think maybe Rise was the wrong game to do it on because it was limited to the Switch and PC. I feel like the game that they should experiment with getting more people on board is a main series game where more people can actually play it.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that one. Cause
it's not what I want, but I feel like it would be strategically smarter.
But that's what they did with world. They made world much easier to get more people interested in the game.
Definitely more approachable than the older games. I'll give you that.
But even then, there's a lot of new people who played Rise that have said to me they tried world. They just didn't like world as much, but now in Rise they've had a lot of new flashy stuff, and if they ever have problems with a monster, they can sidetrack, they can get some some Adamic Life, they can get those spirit birds, they can actually do stuff about the problems they're having, and then they're enjoying that part of the game. My cousin, he does that when he's having problems. He'll go and do other stuff on the side, which is really, I mean, to us core players, maybe it's like we don't really need that because we already know what they're doing, but for the people who don't know, it helps them to overcome things that frustrate them in the interim. So
I have a buddy who started his journey in Rise. Actually, I helped him work through it, and he loves the game. He's obsessed with it. He loves it, and he just got World, and now we're gonna try and go through that. We've both been busy with school though, so we haven't gotten a lot of time to play. We'll have more time over the summer, but he just loved Rise so much. And I think the difficulty was there for him because he has never played the series before.
Yeah, exactly. But
so I think there's 100% truth to that. Like it's all a recency thing.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go now, but
no, that's fine. Yeah, I'm sorry for dragging this out.
No, it's cool. I guess the last thing I just want to iterate for people in the comments, like for myself as well. I've seen a lot of people talk about difficulty, but I never think I've seen people hit the nail on the head perfectly yet for Monster Hunter because they normally only target one part. They say people can move too much. Monsters on a pedestal. Now we're on a pedestal. They target that. They don't target elements. They don't target status, the weapons themselves, the weapon trees, the armor skills, counters, evades, how the game deals with all of that. They don't. It's multitude of things, which is really important. And I think, you know, people in the comments, people in general, when it comes to the community, they need to really think about everything rather than just that one thing that glares out to them the most, because that one thing that glares out to them the most probably isn't the root of the issue. There's something deeper down that's always been Monster now, but it's highlighted more now for some of the new mechanics added.
Yeah, and I don't think there is even like a root of the issue, really. I think it's just a lot of minor things that add up to one thing.
Yeah.
Where people complain about difficulty, but why is it easy? It's because of all of these reasons.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing. I guess this is kind of like a good place to leave off. It's good for open discussion in the comment section. So anyone who wants to, of course, comment, leave your thoughts. Nova, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm glad that I had the chance to be on your Nova chat. I've been really looking forward to this since last week whenever you messaged me.
That's cool, man. Yeah, it's been great to have you on, and I hope things go well with your channel. I'll leave a link to your channel down below, and yeah, thanks for coming. So
awesome. Yeah,
thanks everyone for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.
Peace.